Okay. We need to know this now. This needs to be established now. Who brought the LSD into the Aniplex offices? Okay? You're not in trouble. You're not gonna get punished. I'm not mad. I just need to know who brought it in, why you gave it to everybody, and is it the same stash from the people who did Madoka Magica? Because that shit's probably gone bad by now. So, yeah, in case you couldn't tell, this week's episode of Build Divide decided, fuck it, we're gonna get weird. And it didn't get weird in, too many ways. In fact, it did a lot of simple, straightforward card game anime shenanigans, but what I think kind of makes it work is they offset it by just showing some weird shit, and I appreciate it. So, let us start right back with the beginning, and that is that redhead guy is back in the show. After being absent for a little bit, he shows up again. He is still challenging these kind of bad guys. He goes into this lab place, what's it called, the witchcraft something or other. Goes in, beats all the students. It's time to fight the professor, who's voiced by that guy who plays a mad scientist in everything he's in. And he proceeds to lose, where he ends up somehow making it all the way to Teruto's tent, where Teruto then brings him to Sakura's place, only to inspire more yaoi fanfiction, but that's neither here nor there. When we see Sakura's place, I don't know how to think of this. It's just a big blank room, which normally annoys the crap out of me. I always hate it when we do things like go to a character's home or see more things about their life and they just make it as generic as possible. The generic thing is you go into Sakura's room and it's pink with plushies and shit. That's what they do a lot in anime like this. They just show them being the most generic by the numbers thing possible, but instead it's this giant apartment which is just marble floor with windows all around and a couch. And I don't know how to react to this, which I think is the point. It's weird. But yeah, no, that at least gets you more interested. And this is sort of interesting because this episode is very much a Sakura-centric episode, which I appreciate, even though it is kind of getting annoying. We didn't really actually learn anything that big a deal. But yeah, no, so afterwards we find out that this lab is the big dog. This guy is in charge, he's doing some bad shit, and it's time to go investigate. So all four of our heroes are together. I mean, it's the main three for a good chunk of it, but I don't know, there's something just cathartically entertaining about seeing all these characters they've been showing us, they've been marketing, they've built up as important. There's just something about finally seeing them all be together and just doing some shit. I don't know, it's just one of those things that always kind of appeals to me. When they just get over all the bullshit and let's go do something. So I enjoy that. So they go into the lab, which I think it's funny, as strange as all the visuals are in this show, it's a normal building. At least the top part of it is. They go in where they meet up with generic mad scientist guy. And Teruto is just immediately so you're the card professor, right? Another thing of interesting with Teruto in this episode is they're actually playing into the idea that he's a bland weirdo with no personality. This episode almost turns it into a big joke, which they kind of have been doing that bits and pieces all the time. This episode really put it on Front Street. But yeah, no, so they go there, and he's you're the card professor. And I like how they do those blank, goofy anime eyes. And the other two are don't do that! He's haha, I am the card professor. Yes, perhaps I'm the villain for this episode. Haha, it's me. Here's some coffee. Is the coffee drugged? My first assumption was the coffee was drugged. But no, they all take the coffee, and it does that thing where it goes through Sakura's hand, which, for us the viewer, I think it's not too much speculation to assume that this is a byproduct of them probably being in a virtual world, and she's reacting to it a certain way. Could it be something else? Maybe, potentially, but I kind of think in shows like this, it's always just better to go with the simplest explanation, because this show will probably throw 10 weird things at us when we start getting these answers, that it's probably just simpler to go with the easy option. Yeah, but no, so then they're all going through a tour of the lab, and then the person who made that coffee only to watch it get spilt is I want revenge, bitch! kidnaps Sakura when Teruto and Hiyori aren't looking. I love how they don't show her getting, like, caught. It's literally the two just turn their back, she's gone, and they're like, wait a minute! But yeah, no, she's gone. They're like, oh, she probably went to the bathroom. And they're like, bullshit. I like how there's no, like, meandering, there's no wasting time. So many of these shows, they would then play into it. We'd spend a lot of time with them thinking, oh, she just went to another room or something. Or they'd be wondering what's going on and waste time wondering. No, they just get right to the fucking point. Like, they basically just beat this guy up, tie him up, I choose to believe insert something into his rectum, because that's how I am. And then they get the guy in, and they're just like, okay, shit's gone down. The only kind of goofy thing, though, was when Hiyori trips over the dude, knocks into Teruto, which causes him to just hit the books that reveal the staircase. Though it is funny the way he goes, my path. It was funny, though, so I give it credit. They go down where it just gets fucking weird. Also, we spent a lot of time on them talking about how they study using the magic of this world to, like, do stuff. That was the one scene that I felt was pretty pointless, because, like, what's it really gonna play into at this point? It might, but, you know, it kind of just felt like padding. But yeah, no, so then they go down the path where we see a old Japanese-style mansion somehow under a lake. Is it in a tube? I don't know. It looked kind of like a fish tank. But yeah, no, so they walk into this place where they go into the main lab where they do all their evil shit, where we see bloody handprints everywhere, including them forming a giant eye on the wall. And we see there's just a room of like 10, 12 people being experimented on. And before you say, oh, well, the upstairs scene was a hint at that. No, it wasn't. You could easily have said something else, and this would have probably a bigger impact. But yeah, no, it's so just weird and fucked up. And then they get attacked by the researchers. Teruto goes through the floor to go after the Sakura. Hiyori and the other dude, like, stick around. They make a fun pair. I kind of like them, because they have the most personality. And then, like, he gets down there, and then it gets even weirder, because, like, this guy has, like, opened Sakura's shirt up a bit. Like, obviously you don't say anything inappropriate, just, like, you know, cleavage line, a bit of cleavage line. And he's got, like, leads on her chest. But, like, why'd they pick to put it over her chest? I guess he's trying to, like, study her heart rate or something, but, like, normally it's, like, head. Normally these shows are all about, haha, your brain! So, like, why is he not studying her brain? I don't know. And it's weird, because then her just, like, cleavage is on display for the rest of the episode. Is that how they get some TNA in this show? Next week is a swimsuit episode. You could have saved that shit for next week. Yeah, no, so then, Teruto's like, I challenge you to a fight. Sakura's like, you don't care, I'm fucking here. That's a weird joke, because, like, it is kind of funny, because that's how he would be. But at the same time, you do kind of want him to care about a bit more than just build divide, but we'll get to that in a minute. So then they do the fight, and I think the gimmick of this fight is kind of entertaining, because the idea is he's just kind of like drawing and discarding, and they're trying to make it a metaphor for how he treats his underlings, but at the same time, that is what you do in card games. You just draw until you get to your strategy, but it ultimately plays into Teruto's favor, because he just kind of like keeps track of how many, like, if I'm correct, they're called the triggers. It doesn't matter what they're called. The triggers, how many triggers he's gone through, and then figures out, like, how to take advantage of that, which is a cool, fun, different take on that sort of strategy. So they win, and they steal the guy's lab research, and again, I choose to believe they inserted something in his rectum. The other guy then proceeds to kill him, and when they're walking away, we get this really pretty scene of the streetlights by these trees, making them look rainbow-colored, as Sakura's like, you know, you could have cared a little bit, and he does reveal that he does care a bit. How far will that go? What will they do with that? I don't know. It does feel like kind of a setup for shipping, but it's sort of hard to tell what the trajectory of this show is, so I don't really know what it will turn into. It would be cool if it did, since this show kind of plays up being a bit more for, like, older, more mature audiences, in as much as it's much more self-aware and kind of, like, dark and weird. So it'd be kind of fun if maybe they did a little bit more with that than the average card game anime does. And then in our post-credits, we see the guy dying, and we see that our bad guy is connected to our other bad guy. Not really a revelation, but that was the end of the episode. As that was this week's Build Divide. Again, where'd the LSD come from? But yeah, give me your thoughts about this episode below. And as always, click to like, click to subscribe, and join me next week. Oh god, it's the bikini episode. I don't know what the fuck to expect.